"Mummy, Daddy, come quick. Grandma is not moving." Jerry dropped his coffee mug. It shattered on the floor. Jessica sprinted past him before he could even breathe. The twins, Mimi and Mirabelle, were kneeling beside Madame Hannah's bed, shaking her, pulling her wrapper, crying uncontrollably. "Grandma, wake up. Grandma, please wake up." Mimi sobbed, her tiny hands hitting the bed lightly. Mirabelle pressed her ear to the old woman's chest. "She's cold. Mummy, she's cold. Help her." Jessica reached the bedside first. The moment she touched Madame Hannah's arm, her heart dropped into her stomach. It was stiff and cold. "No. No, 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 no," Jessica whispered, trembling. Jerry rushed in behind her, breathing fast. "Jessica, what?" His voice stopped. His eyes fell on Mama Hannah. Her face was calm, her mouth closed lightly, her hands resting on her stomach, as if she had simply closed her eyes to rest. But her soul had already gone. Jessica covered her mouth and screamed. Jerry staggered backward, hitting the wall. For the first time in years, he felt like a lost little boy again. He rushed forward, grabbed her hand, and shook it lightly. "Mama, Mama, please, don't do this." His voice cracked, tears rushed down his face. The twins cried even harder. "Mummy, tell her to wake up. She promised she will be at our wedding. She said she will walk us down the aisle. Why did she break her promise?" Jessica fell to her knees and hugged her daughters tightly, crying with them. Jerry bent over the bed, pressing his forehead against Madame Hannah's hand, sobbing like a child who had just been orphaned again. Amara and Johnson heard the cries. They rushed in breathlessly. One look at the room, and Amara began wailing. My mother, Mama Hannah, no." She collapsed on the floor beside the bed, holding her wrapper and crying. Johnson covered his face and turned away. But when the twins wrapped their arms around him, crying, "Grandpa, please help Grandma," he broke down too. He held the girls and whispered with a shaking voice, "Mama left us. Mama has gone to rest." Jessica looked at him sharply. But she wasn't sick. She laughed last night. She prayed before bed. She said tomorrow she will cook okra soup. Jerry whispered, "Some people don't need sickness. Their journey simply ends peacefully." And that realization crushed him even more. The entire community gathered. Kindness Restaurant closed for the first time in its history. Jerry organized everything the way Madame Hannah would have loved, simple but honorable. Her white coffin lay under a canopy decorated with soft flowers. Jessica clung to Jerry's arm throughout the service, tears flowing endlessly. The twins cried so loudly that even strangers shed tears. Mama promised to be there when we get married. She said she would braid our hair on our wedding day. She said she will walk us down the aisle. Their tiny voices broke every heart present. Johnson spoke with a trembling voice during the tribute. She died peacefully. She slept and didn't wake, but she left joy behind. She left love behind. When the coffin was lowered, Jerry cried again, something he rarely did. Jessica hugged him. "She died knowing she was found. She died knowing you loved her. That is all that matters." Jerry nodded painfully. But the wound was fresh, deep and raw. That night, Jerry sat alone in the living room, staring at her framed photo on the shelf. He picked it up slowly. "Mama, I didn't find you early, but I gave you the best I could. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Johnson approached quietly and sat beside him. "Jerry, you gave her everything she prayed for. A home, peace, joy, grandchildren, a family. Even in death, she is smiling." Jerry swallowed hard. "I wish she stayed longer." Johnson nodded. "Me too. Every day I feel her absence. Sometimes I look at her picture and ask her, 'Mama, why did you leave without warning? Why didn't you tell me?' But I know she is at peace." Jerry leaned back, eyes swollen from crying. "How do you survive this pain, Johnson?" Johnson smiled sadly. "You don't survive it. You carry it. And one day, it becomes a soft memory instead of a sharp knife." The house felt empty without Madame Hannah's laughter, her stories, her songs, her morning prayers, her little jokes. Amara took the role naturally. Every evening, she called the twins to the mansion garden. They sat around her under the moonlight, just the way Mama Hannah used to do. She told them folk tales, stories about kindness, stories about courage, stories about their grandmother's strength. It kept the twins smiling. It kept Mama's memory alive. And it helped Amara heal too. Prison changed Caleb in ways he never expected. Isolation, silence, cold walls and regret. He had too much time to remember his crimes, and 2 years after his imprisonment, he started writing. One letter to Jerry, then another, and another. Forgive me, I am sorry. I was blinded by hate. I wronged you. Please find peace. Let me find mine. 10 letters came within 2 years. Jerry never replied, not because of hatred, but because he didn't know what to say. Finally, one quiet evening, he wrote back, I forgive you. I do not hate you. Find peace with your maker. That was all. But it broke Caleb completely. He cried for the first time in decades. Forgiveness was the one thing he never believed he deserved. Caleb's sister Kimberly had never stopped sending threats, until the police arrested her. At the station, she broke down crying, her hands shook, her voice cracked. Please, I am a widow. I only have my children. I was angry, but I didn't mean harm. Please, forgive me. Jerry stared at, and suddenly, he remembered Madame Hannah, her soft voice, her gentle heart, her belief in mercy. He took a deep breath. I forgive you. Go home. Take care of your children. Don't threaten anyone again. She collapsed to the floor, crying, Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Once again, Jerry chose kindness, because kindness was the seed that started everything. Under Amara and Johnson's leadership, the restaurant soared. New branches, new recipes, new partnerships, a brand new headquarters. They turned it into the biggest hospitality brand in the South-South region. People came from far cities because they loved the story behind the name. Kindness was no longer a restaurant. It had become a legacy. When the twins turned 18, they gained admission into university to study software engineering. Jerry and Jessica could not stop taking pictures. Johnson and Amara prayed for them every day. For 4 years, Mimi and Mara studied hard. They coded. They designed. They built apps. They joined tech competitions. They conquered every obstacle. And at age 21, they graduated. Not just as engineers, but as the best graduating students of the university. Their parents screamed with pride. Amara cried loudly. Johnson clapped until his palms hurt. When their names were called, the entire hall erupted. Jerry hugged Jessica tightly. Our daughters. They did it. Amara wiped tears. Mama Hannah would have danced today. The twins walked to their family in their graduation gowns and hugged everyone at once. We made you proud, Mimi said. We made Grandma proud, Mara added. As newly certified engineers, Mimi and Mara joined Jerry's tech company. Their resemblance was striking. Their intelligence was undeniable. Their teamwork was inspiring. People whispered everywhere, These girls are geniuses. They think like one mind. They will transform the company. And they did. Within 2 years, profits tripled. The company's security system improved. Their innovations went viral. The twins became pillars of the business. At age 25, fate introduced love. Mimi met Henry, a cybersecurity expert, smart, calm, gentle. Mara met Benson, a bank executive, confident, responsible, intelligent. Both men fell deeply in love with the twin sisters. After months of dating, Jerry and Jessica approved happily. And the community waited eagerly for the wedding. It was grand, beautiful, perfect. Mimi and Mara stood side by side in white gowns. Jerry cried as he saw them. Jessica almost fainted from joy. Johnson and Amara held hands tightly. But when it was time to walk the brides down the aisle, Amara cried the hardest. I should not be the one doing this, she whispered. It should be Mama Hannah. Jerry placed a hand on her shoulder. She is here, he said. She is walking with you. And Amara smiled through tears. She held the twins' hands and walked, put them down the aisle with love, pride, and memories. Months passed, then a year, then 2, then 5. No child for either of the twins. People whispered. Families gossiped. Pressure increased, but doctors said there was nothing wrong. Jerry and Jessica stood by them. Johnson and Amara supported them. The twins comforted each other. But the pain grew. Sometimes Mimi cried in Henry's arms. Sometimes Mara cried alone while Benson held her hand. Yet the family stayed strong. 5 years after marriage, both twins became pregnant. In the same month, joy exploded in every corner of the family. 9 months later, Mimi gave birth to a baby boy named Andrew. 4 days later, Mara gave birth to a baby boy named Anderson. Amara held the 2 babies in her arms and wept uncontrollably. Johnson hugged Mimi and Mara tightly. Jessica knelt on the floor, crying thankful tears. Jerry whispered, "Kindness has returned again." Because one small act of kindness, many years ago, started a story that ended in generations of blessings. And as the family gathered around their great-grandchildren, they whispered, "This is the power of kindness." The night after Andrew and Anderson were born, the mansion was full of soft cries, gentle whispers, and the warm hum of new life. It felt like a blessing flowing through every room, a reminder that even after storms, the earth can bloom again. But for Amara, as she sat quietly in the living room with both newborn boys asleep in her arms, the joy felt different, deeper, heavier, almost holy. She rocked them gently, whispering, "My great-grandchildren, 2 miracles at the same time. Your grandmother would have danced all over this house." A tear fell on little Andrew's forehead. He wrinkled his tiny nose and stretched his fingers, as if reaching for her. "You came when we thought everything was ending," she whispered. "You came to remind us that life continues." She kissed both boys on their small heads. "Your grandmother, Mama Hannah, made a promise. And even if she didn't live long enough to hold you, these blessings prove she is still watching." Behind her, Johnson walked in quietly, wiping his glasses with the edge of his shirt. His eyes were misty from watching his wife cradle the babies. "You look like her," he whispered. Amara looked up. "Like who?" "Like Mama Hannah. The way you hold them, the way you talk to them. Sometimes I feel like she hasn't left." Amara smiled gently. "She's here. In every kindness, in every blessing, in every child, she planted goodness in this family." Johnson sat beside her and held one baby's foot gently between his fingers. "She would be proud of you, Mara," he said softly. "You stepped into her place like God arranged it." Amara's eyes softened. "No one can replace her. I only borrowed her strength." Johnson kissed the top of her head. "And you borrowed it well." Upstairs in the guest room, Mimi and Mara lay side by side in their beds, exhausted from childbirth but glowing with joy. Their husbands, Henry and Benson, stood at the window, watching the moon outside. Mimi whispered, "Mara, do you remember when we used to sit with Grandma in the garden?" Mara smiled. "Every night." "Do you remember her stories?" "I remember everything," Mimi said softly. "She said kindness is a seed that grows into a forest." Mara laughed a little. "She said kindness has a long memory, longer than wickedness." Mimi reached for her sister's hand. "We lived that truth." Mara squeezed back. "We did." Then Mimi wiped a tear. "I wish she got to see our boys." Mara's lips trembled. "She did. Even if we didn't see her, she saw them. Mama always keeps her promises." They fell asleep, holding hands, 2 sisters, 2 new mothers, 2 seeds from the same kindness tree. Downstairs, Jerry and Jessica sat on the balcony, watching the quiet compound. Jessica placed her head on Jerry's shoulder. "I still can't believe our daughters are mothers," she said softly. Jerry chuckled. "Can you imagine Mimi and Mara raising boys?" Jessica smiled. "They'll make amazing mothers. And Henry and Benson, those boys married well." Then her smile faded slightly as memories drifted in. "This family has suffered so much," she whispered. "But look at us now." Jerry nodded slowly. "Sometimes I think Mama Hannah fought from the other side. She made sure the twins got their blessing." Jessica looked at him. "Do you miss her?" Jerry inhaled shakily. "Every day. But when Andrew held my finger today, I felt her again." Jessica leaned into him. "I know the pain may never fade, but we'll carry it together." Jerry nodded. We always have. With the arrival of the great-grandchildren, life settled into a new rhythm. Kindness Restaurant opened 3 new branches in Port, Harcourt, and 2 more in Calabar. Business boomed so much that Johnson and Amara could barely keep up. One evening, as they sat reviewing staff reports, Johnson looked up suddenly. "We're getting too old for this," he sighed dramatically. Amara raised an eyebrow. "Speak for yourself. I still have the strength of a 20-year-old. Johnson laughed until he coughed. "Ah, you, a 20-year-old? Please let me rest." Amara rolled her eyes. "You just want to retire so you can watch football and drink palm wine." Johnson grinned. "Is it bad? Haven't I tried?" Amara softened. "You have. But this business is our daughter's inheritance, and someday our grandchildren's." Johnson nodded. "True. But maybe it's time to prepare the next generation." Amara smiled proudly. "The twins?" "Yes," Johnson said. "They balance brains and compassion. One day, we'll hand it over." A few months later, Jerry received a surprising invitation from the police. Caleb wanted to see him. Jessica was hesitant. "Are you sure you want to go?" Jerry nodded. Forgiveness is not complete until you close the door fully. When he entered the small visiting room, Caleb was waiting, older, thinner, rougher around the edges. But his eyes, they were broken. "Jerry," he whispered. Jerry sat quietly. Caleb swallowed hard. "I don't deserve to ask. But thank you for forgiving me." Jerry nodded slowly. "I needed peace. And you needed freedom inside your heart." Caleb wiped his eyes. "Your forgiveness saved me, not from prison, but from myself." Jerry stood up to leave. Caleb whispered, "Your mother, she would be proud of you." That froze Jerry mid-step. He turned slowly. "My mother?" Caleb nodded. "She protected you even when she thought you were dead. A mother's love is stronger than evil." Tears slowly rolled down Jerry's cheeks. He didn't speak. He simply walked out, leaving. The door of that dark chapter closed forever. After Kimberly was freed, she did everything she could to rebuild her life. Jerry never heard from her again until one afternoon, 2 years later, his secretary walked into his office. "Sir, a woman is here to see you. She says her name is Kimberly." Jerry's heart skipped. "Send her in." Kimberly entered with 2 small children. She bowed deeply. "I didn't come for trouble. I came to thank you." Jerry nodded silently. "My children are alive because I am alive. And I am alive because you forgave me." Jerry exhaled softly. "I didn't do it for you. I did it for your children." Kimberly burst into tears. "You're a good man, Jerry. Better than the world deserves." He shook his head. "No. I'm just a man who learned what kindness can do." She left quietly, and Jerry felt a warmth inside him. Not pride, not satisfaction, but peace. Mimi and Mara didn't just work in Jerry's company, they transformed it. Within 2 years, the cybersecurity department became the best in the region. The blockchain division opened new doors. The mobile apps the twins designed became national hits. During one board meeting, a senior executive whispered to another, "Those girls, they are the future. That family is blessed." Yes, they were blessed. Blessed because a poor food seller once fed a homeless widow. During one late-night shift, Mimi discovered an attempted breach in the company's servers. She frowned. This isn't a normal attack. Mara, sitting beside her, analyzed the code. This is targeted. Someone is probing our defenses. Mimi's voice tightened. Who? Mara typed rapidly. I don't know yet. But if they want to get in here, they must be very desperate. Mimi nodded. Let's handle this quietly. Daddy must not panic. Mara agreed. If there's anything Mama Hannah taught us, it is that fear cannot guide us. Mimi finished. They worked through the night, identifying pieces of digital footprints. Meanwhile, neither of them knew. This breach was only a warning. A storm was gathering again, and this time it wasn't coming from the past, it was coming from the future. That night, after securing the systems, the twins left the office and walked out into the cool evening air. Mimi inhaled deeply. Do you think Grandma sees us? Mara touched her heart. Every single day. They hugged, because even with all the success, even with all the blessings, they still felt the ache of the one woman who should have been here. Amara and Johnson held Andrew and Anderson at home, rocking them gently. Jerry and Jessica lay in bed, whispering prayers of peace. And for a moment, the world felt balanced. Kindness had built this family. Kindness had protected it. Kindness had multiplied it. But life always had one more test waiting. Night in Port Harcourt had a quiet rhythm, distant horns blaring from evening traffic, and the familiar hum of generators in the distance. But inside the headquarters of Nwakanma Technologies, the atmosphere was tense. Computer screens glowed in the dimly lit room. Keyboard clicks echoed like tiny heartbeats. Lines of code scrolled endlessly across the monitors. Mimi and Mara sat side by side in the company's cybersecurity lab, their faces lit by the blue reflection of the screens. Mimi frowned. There it is again. Mara leaned closer. Show me. Mimi tapped a key. The screen zoomed into a string of suspicious binary signatures. Another intrusion attempt, she whispered. This is the fourth one this week. Mara's brows pulled together. But they're not actually breaking through. It's like someone is just testing us. Mimi nodded. Testing our security, testing our reaction time, testing our patching speed. Mara sat back in her chair. This type of attack is not from a random hacker. No, Mimi agreed softly. This is from someone who knows exactly what they're doing. Their eyes met. Someone was watching. Someone was probing. And someone had a purpose. That evening, the house was full. Jessica stirred jollof rice in the kitchen. Jerry set the table with the twins' husbands, Henry and Benson. Amara and Johnson played with the babies, Andrew and Anderson. The twins walked in moments later, exhausted from work but smiling. Mummy, Mimi called. The food smells heavenly. Jessica smiled proudly. Sit down and eat. You both look tired. Mara forced a soft laugh. Just work stress. Jerry narrowed his eyes slightly. Work stress? Or something else? The twins exchanged a quick glance. Jessica noticed it instantly. Girls, is everything okay? Mimi took a slow breath. She didn't want to lie, but she also didn't want to worry her parents. We're fine, she said. We're just handling new security updates. Jerry stepped closer. Do you want to talk about it? Mara shook her head gently. No, it's nothing serious. But her voice lacked confidence. Jerry's instincts prickled. He studied them carefully. He recognized that look, the same look he himself used to wear when hiding danger from the family. But he didn't push. He knew they would open up when ready. Amara served everyone food. Today is for eating and resting. Whatever is stressing you both will calm down. Jessica nodded. Your parents are here. Nothing will trouble you. The twins smiled, but inside the unease grew. Later that night, after everyone went to bed and the babies were asleep, Mimi and Mara returned to the office quietly. Henry noticed Mimi tiptoe toward the door. He sat up. Where are you going? Just to sort something quickly, she said softly. Should I come with you? He asked. Mimi shook her head and kissed his forehead. No. Sleep. In the guest room, Benson noticed Mara picking up her laptop. Baby, it's past midnight. I just need to check something, Mara whispered. I won't be long. Benson sat up. Did something happen at work? You two have been acting strange. Mara hesitated. Not yet, she whispered. But it might. He looked at her sharply. Do you want me to come? No, this is technical. I'll be fine. She kissed him and left quietly. Minutes later, both twins met at the company's cybersecurity room. Mimi locked the door. Mara activated the firewall blind mode. Okay, Mimi whispered. Let's see who's behind this. The twins sifted through data trails, analyzing patterns, timestamps, packets, and embedded signatures. After nearly an hour, Mara gasped. Mimi, look at this. She pointed at an encrypted symbol buried inside the intrusion code. It was faint, hidden, obscure, but unmistakable. Mimi zoomed in, then her breath caught. No, it can't be, Mara whispered. It's the same symbol, the one their father fought years ago, the one that haunted their family. the one tied to their grandmother's fear, the one Jerry hoped he had buried forever, a coiled snake, the symbol of the vipers. Mimi's heart dropped. "But Caleb is in prison," she whispered fearfully. Mara clenched her jaw. "He is. But someone else is working. Someone else picked up where he stopped." Mimi stared at the symbol with trembling hands. "We can't tell Daddy now," she whispered. "He just recovered from everything. He has found peace." "Exactly," Mara agreed. "If we tell him now, he will panic. And he will go back into war mode." Mimi swallowed tight. "So what do we do?" "We investigate quietly," Mara said. "We won't alert them. We'll track them slowly." Mimi nodded. Her voice was small. "I'm scared." Mara held her hand. "Me too. But we survived once, and we will, to survive again." Across the city, in a dark office lit only by a laptop screen, a man leaned back in his chair, smiling faintly as he watched the digital footprints the twins were tracking. He whispered to himself, "Smart girls. Just like I expected." He clicked on a file titled Operation Serpent Seed. Inside the folder were dozens of surveillance pictures of Mimi, Mara, Jerry, Jessica, Johnson, Amara, Andrew and Anderson. The man clicked on a picture of Mimi leaving the office. "She is the thinker," he murmured. He clicked on Mara's picture. "And she is the fighter." His fingers drummed on the table. "You two will bring your father to me without even knowing." He took a slow sip from a cup. "Caleb may be gone, but the vipers do not die. We evolve." For a week, the twins continued investigating quietly, but each night, the cyber attacks grew more complex. Mimi whispered one evening, "This attacker is brilliant." Mara nodded, staring at the screen. "They're matching us blow for blow. They know what we're doing." Mimi's voice cracked. "Do you think they're watching us?" Mara hesitated. "Yes," she whispered. "I think they are." The sisters stared at each other. Then Mara took a deep breath. "We should set a trap." Mimi blinked. "A trap? For a cybercriminal?" "No," Mara said. "For whoever is behind this." Mimi's eyes widened. "That could be dangerous. Daddy would kill us if he knew." "Exactly," Mara said. "Which is why we won't tell him." Mimi hesitated, then nodded. "We do it carefully." One evening, Jessica watched her daughters whisper to each other at dinner. Going quiet. Hiding something. Jerry watched too. He leaned toward Jessica. "They're hiding something," he whispered. Jessica nodded. "I know, but let's give them space." That night, Jerry walked to the balcony and watched the night sky. Something in his spirit, unsettled. He whispered softly, "Mama, if danger is coming, give me a sign." But the night stayed silent. The twins spent another night in the office, preparing a digital snare. It was smart, sharp, sophisticated. A perfect cyberbait. When they executed it, Mara whispered, "If they take it, we'll have their IP." Mimi added, "And if they're bold enough, they'll come for more." They waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, nothing. Mara sighed. "Maybe they're smarter than we thought." Then suddenly, beep, beep. A signal hit their system. Mimi jumped. They took it. But the celebration lasted only 2 seconds. The screen flickered. A message popped up. A simple sentence. "Hello, little vipers." Mimi froze. Mara's blood ran cold. Then the attacker added, "You are not hunting me. I am hunting you." The lights in the office suddenly cut out. There was darkness and total silence. The twins grabbed each other's hands. "Mara," Mimi whispered, voice shaking. Mara swallowed hard. Fear flooded her. But someone out there was smiling, watching and waiting. Jessica entered their room, where Mimi and Mara pretended to be asleep. Jessica shook them gently. "Girls, wake up." Mara opened her eyes slowly. "Yes, Mum?" Jessica frowned. "Both of you look tired. Are you sure everything is fine at work?" Mimi nodded. "We're okay, Mum." Jessica looked unconvinced, but she kissed their foreheads. "You know you can tell us anything, right?" The twins nodded. But they didn't speak. Jessica sighed and left. Mimi turned to Mara immediately. We can't hide this forever. I know, Mara whispered. But we must find out who it is before Daddy gets involved. Mimi nodded nervously. But deep inside, she wished they weren't facing this alone. Because this time, it wasn't just cyber threats. It was personal. It was deliberate. And it was only the beginning. A heavy rainstorm washed over Port Harcourt that night. Thunder rattled the windows. Lightning flashed like a furious warning. Inside the mansion, however, everyone slept peacefully, except Mimi and Mara. They sat together on the edge of Mimi's bed, both wrapped in blankets, both breathing nervously, both shaking despite the warm night. The memory of the message from the unknown hacker replayed in their minds like a nightmare that refused to end. Hello, little vipers. You are not hunting me. I am hunting you. Mimi rubbed her palms together. Mara, do you think they know who we are? Mara's voice trembled. This attacker isn't random. Whoever it is, they're watching us. They know our family. They know our history. They know our weakness. Mimi swallowed. Daddy, and all of us, Mara whispered. There was a soft knock on the door. Both girls jolted upright. Mimi? Mara? It was Jessica. The twins sighed in relief. Jessica entered, hugging her arms against the cold draft. Why are your lights on at this hour? The twins exchanged a glance. Mimi smiled weakly. Sorry, Mum, we couldn't sleep. Jessica walked closer and brushed their hair back tenderly. You're working too hard. You need rest. Mara nodded. We'll sleep soon. Jessica kissed their foreheads. Good. Don't forget, whatever happens, you will always have your father and I. There is no problem you must face alone. Those words hit too close. The guilt softened both of them. Jessica turned off the light and walked out. The door closed softly behind her. The twins remained still, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway. Then Mimi whispered, Mara, should we tell Mum? Mara clenched her fists. Not yet. Not until we know who the enemy is. Mimi nodded. We fight quietly. But deep down, both sisters wondered, are we strong enough to face this alone? Across the city, the same man, the sitter, shadowy hacker, clicked through dozens of surveillance feeds. He had hacked into traffic cameras, street CCTV, and even the exterior cameras of the Nwakanma mansion. He watched the twins through a grainy night vision clip. Clever girls, he murmured. But you still don't understand. He clicked another file. A man's voice message played. We begin phase 2 in 3 days. The hacker smiled faintly. And the father still has no idea. He tapped a command. A new message appeared on his laptop screen. Operation Serpent Seed activated. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving the mansion drenched but peaceful. Jerry walked out to the garden with his cup of tea. He loved mornings calm, quiet, a fresh start after the demons of the night. But as he sat down under the gazebo, something pricked his intuition. Something felt wrong. Amara joined him moments later. Thinking about Mama? Jerry nodded. Every morning. Amara sat beside. She would like seeing you sit here. Peace suits you, Jerry. Jerry smiled gently. I never thought I'd have peace. None of us did, Amara whispered. But kindness builds homes that storm cannot destroy. Jerry exhaled deeply. But unease remained. Where are the twins? He asked suddenly. Still sleeping, I think, Amara replied. Jerry frowned. At this hour? They worked late yesterday, Amara said. Maybe they're tired. Jerry nodded. But slowly. A memory flashed Jessica, admitting she sensed something troubling them. He stood up suddenly. I need to talk to my daughters. Amara watched him walk away, unaware that fate had already set the stage for a new battle. At the office, Mimi and Mara sat with their laptops open, analyzing a new attack attempt from that morning. It's getting stronger, Mimi whispered. And bolder, Mara added. The attacker had left another message hidden in the code. Time's up. Soon. Mimi looked pale. He's taunting us. Mara clenched her jaw. He's challenging us. A phone notification pinged. Mimi checked her screen. Mara, someone is trying to access our server from inside the city. A physical device. Mara snapped her head around. Inside Port Harcourt? Yes. Location. Mimi traced the signal. Her eyes widened. Mara. It's coming from New Mile 3. Mara's throat tightened. That's too close. Someone is working here, Mimi whispered. Someone in this city. Mara stood up. We need to go, Mimi blinked. Now? Yes, before they move. Mimi hesitated. What if it's a trap? It probably is, Mara said. But we need to know what they're planning. The twins left the office quietly and drove toward Mile 3, each heartbeat punishing their chest. The area was crowded shops, chaotic traffic, street food vendors, shouting traders. Mimi parked near a newspaper stand. Coordinates say the signal is coming from that direction. She pointed at a run-down market corridor. The twins walked cautiously. People brushed past them. Noise filled the air, but the twins remained focused. Finally, they reached a small electronics shop. Mara whispered, It's coming from here. Inside, they found nothing. Just used computers, broken radios, old phones. But then Mimi spotted it, a small device blinking softly behind a pile of radio parts. Her voice shook. That's a signal relay, it's bouncing the attacks. Mara reached for it. When suddenly, a voice spoke behind them. Step away from that. They turned immediately. A tall man in a black hoodie stood at the door, hands in his pockets, face calm, eyes cold. Mimi's voice trembled. Who are you? He smirked. Someone who has been expecting you. Mara stepped forward defensively. What do you want? Your father, he said simply. Mimi's heart dropped. Daddy, why? Because, the man said with a chilling smile, Jerry stole something from us years ago. Now, he must pay. And you are the bait. Mara clenched her fists. We're not scared of you. Oh, you should be, the man said quietly. You carry the bloodline he tried to destroy. He pointed at Mimi. And now, I will destroy his through you. Before Mara could move, he threw something on the floor. A flash bomb. The bright explosion blinded them. The man escaped through the back door. When the twins regained vision, he was gone. Mimi grabbed the relay device. Mara grabbed her arm. We need to leave. Now. They sprinted to the car. Mimi shook violently. Mara. He knows us. He knows Daddy. And he knows the past. Mara closed her eyes. Then whispered the words she feared the most. We can't hide this anymore. Back at the mansion, Jerry stepped out of his room, just as the twins entered, breathless, pale, shaking. Mimi, Mara, what happened? Jessica ran down the stairs. Girls, what's wrong? The twins looked at each other. Then Mimi broke. She burst into tears. Daddy, we're sorry. We didn't want to worry you. Jerry held her shoulders. Talk to me. Mara took a deep breath. Daddy, someone is attacking the company. Not money. Not data. They're attacking us. Jerry grew still. Us? Mimi nodded. The hacker, the symbol, the messages. Mara looked into his eyes. Daddy, the Vipers are back. Jessica gasped. Amara froze. Johnson's face hardened instantly. Jerry's expression changed, a cold, familiar shadow falling over him. Tell me everything. The twins explained everything. The intrusion attempts, the hidden messages, the Mile 3 trap, the man, his words. When they finished, Jerry's hands were shaking with fury. Jessica held her chest. Oh God, why won't they leave us alone? Jerry stood up slowly. Because evil never sleeps, and the past always sends its children. Johnson stepped forward. Jerry, what do we do? Jerry looked at his family, his wife, his daughters, his sons-in-law, his grandchildren, his mother-in-law, his mentor, his entire world, and he whispered, We end this, once and for all. Mara asked softly. How? Jerry looked at her with the same fire he once carried when he rescued them from Block 7. We fight, but smarter. Not with guns, not with fists. He touched the twins' shoulders. With intelligence, with caution, with unity. Mimi swallowed. Daddy, Are we in danger? Jerry whispered. Not as long as I breathe. Jessica wiped her eyes. Jerry. He pulled her close and whispered the words that marked the beginning of the final battle. We will not run. We will not hide. This time, we end the Vipers forever. The house was silent, not the silence of fear, not the silence of shock. A deep, heavy silence, the kind that comes after a storm announces itself. Jerry stood in the center of the living room, hands clasped behind his back, shoulders stiff, eyes fixed on the floor. His chest rose and fell slowly. He wasn't angry, he wasn't panicked. He was thinking. Jessica sat beside him, her hand shaking on his arm. Amara and Johnson stood close, watching him like someone who was preparing to walk into the battlefield again. Mimi and Mara sat on the sofa, fingers intertwined, eyes red from crying. Henry and Benson stood behind them protectively. The whole family felt it. The Vipers had returned. And this time, they were not hiding. Jerry finally exhaled and looked up. Everyone, sit. The room obeyed. Jerry paced slowly, gathering his thoughts. For 20 years, I lived believing my family was gone. And for another 20 years, I lived trying to keep the ghosts of that time away from the people I love. He stopped walking, but it seems the past has found us again. Jessica touched her chest. Jerry, what exactly do they want? Why now? Jerry sat beside her. His voice dropped lower. When Caleb was arrested, the authorities told me something I never shared. Everyone leaned forward. Jerry continued. Caleb wasn't the head of the Vipers. He was only the face. The real leader vanished before they could arrest him. Mimi gasped softly. Mara's breath hitched. Jerry nodded slowly. Yes. That's why these new attacks feel organized. They aren't random. This is strategic. Johnson clenched his fists. And the man the twins saw is connected to the original head. Jerry nodded. Most likely. Amara sat up straight. Jerry, is our family in danger? Jerry looked around the room at every face he loved. Then he spoke the truth. There will always be danger, Amara. Bad people exist. But this time we are stronger, smarter, united. He looked at the first. Twins. But I need to see everything you found. Mimi immediately opened her laptop. Mara mirrored her. The screens lit up the room. Jerry leaned in, scanning the coding signatures and patterns. His eyes narrowed. This style, he murmured. It's too familiar. He clicked deeper. Jessica watched him carefully. Jerry, do you recognize it? He didn't answer, not immediately, but the truth landed on him like a blade. Yes, he whispered. This is the coding style of someone I knew when I was 15. Back in the market days. Everyone stared at him. I had a friend, a genius, who joined the Vipers long before Caleb did. His name was Sadiq. He was the only one Caleb respected. If Sadiq is alive, he's the one sending these threats. Mara whispered. He told us we were bait. Jerry nodded bitterly. That's exactly how Sadiq operates. He destroys peace one piece at a time. Jessica stood up. Jerry, what do we do? He took a deep breath. We prepare, but not with fear, and not with violence. Johnson stood also. Then how? With truth, Jerry said. With exposure. Sadiq wants a shadow war. We bring him into the light. For the next 3 weeks, the family worked quietly and carefully. No panic, no police sirens, no public chaos, only intelligence. Mimi and Mara led the cybersecurity operation, creating firewalls within firewalls, data traps, digital fingerprints, tools that even Sadiq could not slip through unnoticed. Henry used his cybersecurity expertise to help them track the intruder. Benson used his financial connections to dig into suspicious bank movements linked to old Viper hideouts. Jerry used his past, his memories, his experiences, and every detail he remembered about Sadiq to predict his moves. Jessica, Amara, and Johnson took over caring for the babies, keeping the home peaceful and steady during the storm. They ate together, prayed together, worked quietly, watched closely, until, one night, at exactly 1:13 a.m., an alert beeped on Mimi's laptop. She sat up instantly. Her eyes widened. Mara, wake up! Mara jumped. What is it? Mimi whispered. He's inside. Mara's heartbeat stuttered. Inside what? The system. Mara froze. He took the bait. Within seconds, Henry and Benson rushed into the room. Jerry appeared in the doorway, Jessica behind him. Johnson and Amara followed. The whole family gathered around the laptop. A red dot blinked on the screen. Jerry inhaled sharply. That's his location, Mara whispered shakily. He's in Port Harcourt. Henry zoomed in. Wait. The coordinates sharpened. Everyone leaned forward. Then the truth hit all of them like thunder. Jessica gasped loudly. Amara's hands flew to her mouth. Johnson whispered, "Oh my God," because the location was the old Lagos warehouse, the place where Jerry 5 and his father were taken 20 years ago. Mimi covered her face. He chose that place on purpose. Jerry clenched his jaw. He wants me to return to the beginning. Jessica looked dizzy. Jerry, don't go. But Jerry placed a gentle hand on her face. Jess, I'm not going there to fight. I'm going to end the fear. Henry nodded. We'll go with you. Mara stood. We're all coming. Jerry shook his head firmly. No, this ends with me. He wants me, not all of you. Mimi burst into tears. Daddy, please. Jerry pulled her into his chest gently. I survived that place once. I will survive it again. And when I return, this family will never fear the shadows again. Jessica sobbed quietly into his shoulder. The warehouse was dark, silent, empty. Jerry stepped inside slowly, the past whispering through every corner. He walked forward, memories bleeding into the present, his father's scream, the gunshot, the cold floor, the moment he thought death had reached him. And then, a slow clap echoed. Jerry turned. A lone figure stepped into the moonlight, tall, slim, hood pulled low, lips curved into a twisted smile. Sadiq, Jerry whispered. Ah, the man said smoothly. You still recognize your old friend? You're no friend of mine. But your past? Sadiq asked gently. Your past belongs to me. Jerry stood firm. You're done, Sadiq. You're exposed. Sadiq laughed softly. You think I came here to fight? Jerry frowned. Then why call me here? To finish our story, Sadiq said calmly. You destroyed the Vipers when you survived. You ruined the chain. I wanted one thing only, for you to see that the past still breathes. Jerry swallowed. You want revenge? No. Sadiq shook his head slowly. I want to let go. Jerry froze. Sadiq lowered his hood. His face was older, tired, broken. You win, Jerry. Jerry stared at him, confused. I've lost everything, Sadiq whispered. Caleb is gone. The old gang is scattered. I am alone. And I just wanted you to know that monsters do grow old. Jerry exhaled shakily. Why torment my daughters? Sadiq closed his eyes. To force you to look at me one last time, to know I existed. He stepped back. And now, you take the last piece. What piece? Sadiq raised his hands in surrender. Turn me in. Jerry stiffened. What? I'm tired, Jerry, Sadiq whispered. I have no life, no family, no future. But you built something beautiful. And I hated you for it. He looked up with broken eyes. But now I understand. Kindness saved you. Jerry felt his throat tighten. Sadiq stepped forward slowly. Finish it. Jerry hesitated, then pulled out his phone and called the police. Sadiq smiled faintly. For the first time in my life, I feel free. Minutes later, police trucks arrived. Sadiq raised his hands. He was taken away peacefully. Jerry watched as the past finally left his world. A weight fell off his chest. He whispered into the night, Mama, it's over. When Jerry stepped into the mansion, the entire family rushed towards him. Jessica hugged him first, crying into his chest. You came back. I promised I would, he whispered. Mimi and Mara hugged him next, sobbing with relief. Henry, Benson, Amara, and Johnson embraced him one after another. They all sat together, close, safe, warm. Jerry looked around the room and whispered, It's done. It's over. Jessica wiped her tears. So no more vipers? No more, Jerry said. They belong to the past now. Mimi touched his hand. Daddy, we're safe? Yes, Jerry whispered. We are safe. Mara leaned her head on his shoulder. Thank you. Jerry kissed her forehead. No, thank you. Both of you. Your courage exposed the truth. Amara smiled, through tears. Kindness wins again. Johnson nodded softly. And peace finally returns. Jessica leaned into Jerry's shoulder. Let's go inside, she whispered. Our family is whole again. The mansion garden glowed with warm lights, soft music played. People laughed and celebrated. It was Jerry and Jessica's 25th wedding anniversary, and their family was bigger than ever. Mimi and Henry stood beside their 3-year-old son, Andrew. Mara and Benson carried little Anderson. Amara and Johnson walked around proudly, wearing matching outfits. The twins were now senior engineers, respected across Africa for their brilliance. Kindness Restaurant had grown into a national chain. Jerry had written a book about survival and kindness that became a bestseller. Life was peaceful. Life was beautiful. As the family gathered for a photo under the garden lights, Jessica whispered, "We made it, Jerry." Jerry wrapped his arm around her. "Yes," he breathed, "because kindness never fails." The photographer counted. 1, 2. Jerry whispered softly, "Mama, this piece is your gift." 3. The camera flashed, capturing a family healed, safe, and whole. And with that, a legacy of kindness was built, a family restored, a past defeated, and a future overflowing with peace. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.